Hello Story Storer listeners. Before we start this interesting story, please subscribe this channel, Story Storer, and hit the bell icon. Thank you. Now here we go. The air was heavy with the scent of lilies and muted grief as I sat in the front row of the funeral parlor, clutching the program in my hands. My fingers pressed into the paper, creasing it without intent, as though holding it tighter could anchor me to something solid. My son, Daniel, was gone, only 33, taken by a heart attack that struck like a thief in the night. He was my only child, the one person who'd ever truly cared about me. And now his casket lay just feet away, polished wood reflecting the dim light. Behind me, his wife Cassandra leaned close, her breath warm against my ear, and whispered, "You have 7 days to leave." Her voice was soft, almost tender, but the words cut like a blade. I didn't turn to face her. I sat frozen, pretending I hadn't heard, while the priest droned on about eternal rest and finding peace. Cassandra squeezed my shoulder gently, as if offering comfort, then stood and glided across the room to greet another mourner. "She's been so strong," someone murmured behind me. "Losing her husband so young, I can't imagine." I wanted to scoff, to let the bitterness in my chest spill out, but I stayed silent, my throat burning. Her black dress hugged her frame perfectly, her tears glistening just enough to seem real. I stayed through the service, through the prayers, through the final blessings, even as people shuffled toward the reception hall. When it was time to leave, Cassandra made a show of helping her elderly aunt to the car, leaving me to stand alone by the curb. We rode back in Daniel's car, the faint scent of his cedarwood cologne lingering in the upholstery. I thought it might break me, but I was too busy trying to unravel her game. At the house, she played the perfect widow, leading guests inside with a soft smile, delivering a speech about Daniel's kindness, his quiet humor, his love for family. I stood behind the kitchen counter, gripping the edge, saying nothing. I noticed the changes she'd already made. The family photo by the staircase was missing, replaced by a generic abstract print. Daniel's old military keepsake box, once on the mantel, was gone. She was erasing him, piece by piece, before the dirt had even settled on his grave. After the guests left, I went to my room, the one I'd called home for 7 years, ever since Daniel and Cassandra bought this house with my help. The door was ajar, my blankets neatly folded, the lamp on my nightstand unplugged. I opened the dresser. Half my drawers were empty. My jewelry box was gone. In the closet, I found boxes labeled Ellen's belongings. My heart thudded as I stood there, piecing it together. I walked back to the dining room, where Cassandra sat with a glass of red wine, scrolling through her phone. She didn't look up until I cleared my throat. "Did you move my things?" I asked, voice steady. She glanced at me, casual as ever. "Just tidying up. I can call a moving company when you're ready." Her smile was polite, like she was offering to help with groceries. "Where's my jewelry?" I pressed. "In the safe," she said, sipping her wine. "I didn't want anything to get lost with so many people coming through." "I never asked you to touch my things," I said, my voice sharper now. She set her glass down, her eyes meeting mine. "Daniel and I discussed this. It's not personal, Ellen. We thought you'd want to move in with your cousin." "I don't have a cousin," I said, staring her down. She knew that. She shrugged, picking up her phone again. This was his house. He'd want us to have space to grieve. I turned and walked away before I said something I'd regret. Back in my room, I checked under the bed for the box I kept in the closet. I found a bin labeled miscellaneous papers. I dug through it, receipts, old bills, a warranty for a blender. Then I found my file folder, medical records, bank statements, my passport. But the deed, the one with my name on it, the one Daniel insisted we keep together after I contributed to the down payment when he was between jobs, it was missing. My pulse quickened. I checked again, hands shaking. Nothing. Cassandra's voice drifted from the kitchen. Want any of this leftover quiche, or should I toss it? I didn't answer. The deed was gone, and she was playing innocent. The next morning, the kitchen was quiet, the faint scent of coffee already faded. Cassandra sat at the dining table, typing on her laptop. "Morning," she said brightly. "Just getting some quotes for movers." I opened the fridge. My labeled containers were gone, replaced by sleek, unfamiliar Tupperware. "I didn't ask for movers," I said. She smiled without looking up. "You mentioned handling things on your timeline. I thought I'd help speed it up." She clicked something on her screen, took a sip from her mug. I walked to the living room. Daniel's old armchair, the one he loved, was gone, replaced by a stiff, modern recliner. His blanket was wadded up behind the TV stand. "Where's Daniel's chair?" I asked. She shrugged. It was worn out. Didn't match the vibe anymore. I stared at her. "It's been a week." Her eyes flicked up, annoyed. "It's been 9 days, Ellen. I'm not sitting in a dead man's chair." That was the first time she said his name like it was nothing. I turned and stepped outside, needing air. Sitting on the porch, I called a lawyer Daniel had recommended years ago when we updated our wills. The secretary said he could see me that afternoon. I didn't tell Cassandra where I was going. I just left. Mr. Grayson, the lawyer, remembered Daniel immediately. "Good man," he said, shaking his head. "I'm so sorry." I told him everything: Cassandra's threat, the missing deed, my 7 years in the house, my contribution to the down payment. He asked if I had proof of the payment. "A cashier's check receipt," I said. I kept it. His eyes brightened. "That's a start. If your name's on the deed and you have proof of contribution, she can't force you out. Not legally." He told me to find the receipt and any purchase paperwork. I drove home, gripping the wheel, my mind racing. Cassandra was on the phone when I returned, pacing near the hallway. "No, she doesn't know anything," she said, lowering her voice when she saw me. "It's handled." I walked past her and climbed to the attic, where Daniel kept old boxers. Dust coated my hands as I tore through them: school records, military files, then one labeled Home Docs. My breath caught. I sat on the floor, flipping through closing statements, insurance papers, and there it was, a manila envelope marked deed. My name, Daniel's, notarized, filed. I tucked it into my jacket and climbed down. Cassandra stood at the bottom of the ladder, eyebrows raised, looking for something. "Just old papers," I said, meeting her gaze. "Nothing important." She smiled tightly. "Good. I wouldn't want you getting overwhelmed." She turned toward the kitchen, and I knew she was bluffing. She either didn't know about the deed or hoped I wouldn't find it. That night, I scanned the deed, emailed it to myself, and created a folder labeled for attorney. Cassandra knocked on my door around 9 p.m., holding 2 glasses of wine. "Can we talk?" she asked, sitting on the couch across from me. "Clear the air." I took the glass, but didn't drink. "Sure. I know things have been tense," she said, swirling her wine. "Daniel always said this house was for our future, our family." She looked down at her glass, then up at me. "I don't want this to get messy, Ellen. I just want to move forward." I noticed her wedding ring, still gleaming on her finger. "Have you talked to a lawyer?" I asked. Her face twitched. "No. I didn't think it was necessary." I smiled faintly. "Maybe it is." Her eyes narrowed, but she recovered quickly. "I hope we can do this the easy way." "So do I said, and she walked out, glass in hand. I checked the scanned deed on my phone one more time. My name was clear, undeniable. She thought she had me cornered, but I had the upper hand now. The next morning, I printed 2 copies of the deed and dropped them at Grayson's office in a sealed envelope, telling his assistant it was urgent. Back home, Cassandra was in the garage, clearing shelves. "Just getting rid of clutter," she said casually. "Hope that's okay." I nodded, noticing Daniel's fishing rods were gone. In my room, I found my nightstand drawer, locked a lock that hadn't been there before. I pried it open with a screwdriver. My prescription bottle and cash envelope were missing. She was sending a message. No privacy, no control. I sat on the bed, breathing slowly, refusing to let the anger take over. I went to Daniel's old office, opened his filing cabinet, and found a folder labeled Mortgage Updates. Inside were statements from a refinance last year. Both our names listed. Cassandra's nowhere to be found. I snapped photos and uploaded them to my cloud. I overheard her on the phone in the hallway, voice low on speaker. "Yeah, she's still here. It's awkward, but she has no real claim." A pause. "No, her name's not on the utilities or taxes. It'll be fine." I stepped into the hallway, making just enough noise. She turned, eyes wide. "Everything okay?" she asked, voice syrupy. "You should be careful what you say," I said. "This house has thin walls." I walked to the kitchen, started the coffee maker, and acted like nothing had happened. She avoided me for the rest of the day. That evening, I passed the living room and saw the family portrait replaced with a sterile ocean print. I stared at it, the absence of Daniel's face stinging. She ordered takeout, left mine in a bag on the counter. No note, no acknowledgement. I took it to my room, locked the door with a wedge I'd started using, and ate in silence. At 2 a.m., I heard footsteps outside my door, slow, deliberate. No knock, just a pause. Then they faded. In the morning, my alarm clock was flashing. The power had cut out for exactly 1 minute. The circuit breaker was fine. I said nothing. I went back to Grayson, handing him the refinance documents and deed copies. He nodded as he reviewed them. "She has no legal standing. You've contributed financially and lived here for 7 years. If she tries to evict you, she'll lose." He suggested drafting a notice of shared ownership and preparing a response to any false claims. "Keep your documents safe," he said, "and stay calm." I drove home, a new clarity settling in, not grief, not fear, but focus. Cassandra was folding laundry when I walked in. "Did you go somewhere?" she asked, eyeing me. "Just needed air," I said. She raised an eyebrow. "You seem confident all of a sudden." I smiled. I remembered something important. Her gaze lingered. Then she said, "I hope it doesn't complicate things." That night, my labeled food was back in the fridge. Same handwriting, like she was taunting me. I heard her on the phone again, voice low. "Yeah, she's acting strange. I might need to move up the timeline." A pause. "If she finds that file, we're done." She didn't know I already had it. She didn't know it was with Grayson. But now I knew she was hiding something bigger than a property dispute. 3 days later, Cassandra announced a memorial gathering for Daniel's friends and coworkers, as if it were a casual brunch. She didn't ask me to help, just told me to keep the guest bathroom clean and avoid personal matters with guests. I watched as she set up Daniel's old bar cart, stocked it with wine, and laid out fancy appetizers. The first guest, Daniel's friend Marcus, hugged me tightly. "He always talked about you," he whispered. "Said you were his rock." I nodded, throat tight. Cassandra floated through the room, glass in hand, giving teary speeches about Daniel's warmth. I stood by the wall, watching her charm strangers while erasing his presence. Someone asked how I was holding up. "As well as I can," I said. "I still live here." Daniel and I combed the house. "Cassandra's handling things, but I'm staying." The woman looked surprised. "Oh, I thought she said it was hers." "Easy mistake," I said, smiling. An hour later, Cassandra pulled me into the hallway, closing the door. "Are you trying to cause a scene?" she hissed. I answered a question. I said, Don't play innocent, Ellen. These people don't need to hear about paperwork. Then stop lying about it, I said. Her face hardened. These are my supporters. They're here for me. Then maybe don't throw a cocktail party in the house you're trying to erase him from, I shot back. Her cheeks flushed. If you don't want to be here, leave. I'm not going anywhere, I said. She leaned in, whispering, You think you're smart, Ellen, but you don't know how this works. You'll regret staying. She stormed out, greeting the next guest with a smile. I stayed quiet, watching. One guest, a man in his 40s with a sharp suit, kept glancing at me, like he was trying to place me. He spoke briefly with Cassandra, then left early. Something about his careful movements stuck with me. After everyone left, I passed the guest room and saw a manila folder in Cassandra's open tote bag, labeled Doc Copies Plan B. I stepped back to my room, grabbed my phone, and took a photo through the door crack. Inside the bag were more folders. One marked Property Timeline. Another E-Signatures 2024. I didn't touch them, just photographed. One file showed a will with a digital signature I didn't recognize. Dated March 10th, Daniel died February 1st. He couldn't have signed anything in March. I heard the shower start, so I moved fast, closing the bag and retreating to my room. My hands shook. This was bigger than a deed. The next morning, I found Cassandra in the kitchen, sniffling delicately, holding a tissue. She turned when I entered, wiping her eyes. I'm sorry, she said, voice trembling. It just hits me sometimes. Then she placed a hand on her stomach, subtle but deliberate. I didn't want to say anything until I was sure. I'm pregnant, Ellen. I froze. How far along? I asked. 8, maybe 9 weeks, she said quickly, placing a sonogram photo on the table. I picked it up. Her name, a clinic, a date not 9 weeks ago, but 4. Daniel had been gone for 10. The math didn't add up. I used a donor, she said, as if reading my mind. Daniel and I discussed it, just in case. He wanted me to have a piece of him. I knew she was lying. Daniel would have told me something that big. I handed the photo back, face blank. I hope you understand why I need stability now, she said. For the baby. I nodded slowly. That changes things. Her face softened, like she thought I was caving. But I forwarded the sonogram photo and the e-signatures image to Grayson with a note. We need to talk. He called within an hour. This helps us, he said. If she's claiming dependency, we can demand medical records. If she faked it, it's fraud. What if she's lying about the pregnancy entirely? I asked. Then we'll prove it, he said. Keep documenting. Don't react. I didn't. I cleaned, folded laundry, smiled when she made comments like, "This baby will need so much space." She watched me, waiting for me to crack. I didn't. On Friday, an envelope slid under my door, marked urgent, 48-hour notice. Inside was a typed letter, not court-filed, claiming I had to leave due to emotional instability and threats. The final line chilled me. Failure to comply will result in law enforcement and potential elder neglect claims. It was sloppy, desperate. I folded it, added it to my file, and drove to Grayson's office. He chuckled when he read it. She's harassing you and threatening elder neglect. This is gold. I told him about the fake pregnancy, the sonogram. Date, the forged will. We're past civil now, he said. This is fraud territory. We'll request a discovery subpoena for her emails, texts, medical records, and banking. Will a judge grant it? I asked. With this evidence? Absolutely, he said. You've got her. I stopped at a print shop, made 3 bound copies of everything: the deed, refinance records, sonogram, eviction threat, witness names from the memorial land, labeled them Cassandra case file. One went to my safe deposit box, one to Grayson, one under my closet floorboard. At home, Cassandra was on a video call, laughing. "Yeah, I'll have the place in 2 weeks, max." I stepped into view, grabbed a water bottle, and stared until she ended the call. "Do you need something?" she asked. "Just a heads up," I said. "If another envelope comes, make sure it's court-stamped. Anything else goes to my attorney." She blinked, caught off guard. "Are you threatening me?" "You started the paperwork war, Cassandra," I said. "I'm keeping mine legal." I walked out. That night, I accessed Daniel's old email, using the password he'd shared years ago, his favorite song lyric, plus his military ID in a folder labeled Estate. I found a draft will from February 2024. The signature wasn't his. The notary seal was cropped, reused. It named Cassandra as sole heir, no mention of me. The metadata showed it came from her laptop. I sent it to Grayson. She forged his will. He called the next morning. "We're filing today," he said. "We move to freeze the property title, review the will, and issue a fraud alert." "Don't serve her," he said. "The court will." By noon, Cassandra was overly friendly, offering lunch, asking if I wanted to shop for baby items. "Are we good?" she asked. "We'll see," I said, smiling. That afternoon, a process server arrived as she stepped onto the porch with shopping bags. "Cassandra Lynn," he said, handing her an envelope. "You've been served probate fraud and property injunction." "What the hell is this?" she snapped. "Read it," he said, walking away. I watched from the window as she tore it open, her face palling. She stormed inside, slamming the envelope on the table. "What did you tell them?" she shouted. "The documents did the talking," I said. She threw the papers down, muttering, "I'll fix this." She locked herself in her room. The next morning, I heard her on the phone outside, hissing, "Get me a lawyer who can bury this. I don't care what it costs. She's just an old woman." I stood on the porch, arms crossed, letting her know I heard. So 2 days later, we were in court. Cassandra's lawyer spun a tale of widowhood and maternal protection, but Grayson dismantled it with evidence, signature comparisons, metadata, refinance records, my deed. The judge leaned forward. "Counselor, this is clear. Ms. Ellen retains co-ownership. Eviction claims are void. The will is under fraud investigation." Cassandra's posture collapsed. Her lawyer whispered something, and she glared at him. I stood steady, silent, strong. As we left, Grayson said, "Now we wait. She either push back or leave." The next morning, Cassandra sat at the kitchen table, coffee untouched, a legal pad scribbled with names. "You think you've won," she said, not looking up. "It's not a story, Cassandra," I said. "It's the law." She stood, chair screeching. "You don't get to steal everything from me. You tried to erase me from a home I helped build," I said, "with a fake will and a fake pregnancy." She froze, then tried. "I was grieving. Pack your things," I cut in. "I'm not calling the sheriff yet." She grabbed her phone and stormed out. The house was quiet, a deep stillness I hadn't felt in months. In Daniel's room, I found a letter in his drawer, handwritten, dated 3 weeks before his death. "If anything happens, I'm sorry," it began. He wrote about Cassandra's manipulation, his guilt, his fear of choosing sides. "Don't let her take everything, Mom. This house is ours." I scanned it, locked it away. That evening, Cassandra returned, eyes blazing. "You'll regret this. I'll go to the press, say you bullied a grieving widow. Show them the ultrasound dates, the will metadata, and Daniel's letter," I said. She paled. "You're bluffing." "Try me," I said. She slammed her door, a frame falling off the wall. I reset it, made dinner, texted Grayson, found a letter, strengthens motive. He replied, "Send it." Bulletproof. By Sunday, boxers lined her hallway, sloppily packed. She didn't speak until Thursday, holding her last bag. "You don't have to do this," she said. "Neither did you." I replied. "Where am I supposed to go?" she asked. "Anywhere that isn't here," I said, closing the door. She stood on the porch, frozen, then drove off. I didn't cry or cheer. I was done. But then I saw a flash drive on the coffee table, silver, unlabeled. My stomach twisted. Cassandra didn't leave things by accident. I plugged it into Daniel's laptop. A video loaded. Cassandra in his office, smirking. "If you're watching this, I'm gone, or you think you've won. You were a guest, Ellen, who overstayed. Daniel wanted you gone, but didn't have the guts." She leaned closer. "You can keep the house, but you'll never forget this." I paused it, her words echoing. But I had Daniel's letter, his truth. I ejected the drive, tossed it in the trash, deleted the file. I didn't need her lies. I unpacked my things, put Daniel's photo back on the shelf, lit a candle, and sat at the table, free. Looking out at the porch, I whispered, "My house, my rules." What did you think of this story of resilience and truth prevailing against manipulation? How did Ellen's journey resonate with you? And what lessons about standing your ground did you take away? Also, where are you watching this from? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Story Storer for more gripping tales.